Hello there, and welcome to the Rebel Rater channel, where the rating revolution starts. Today we're diving into the world of whiskey ratings. First, I'll address the rating system, and I'll also lay out plans for ranking them. Then we'll talk through what to expect on each rating review as far as content goes. And then finally, the Rebel Nation that wants to follow along with the tasting, I'll also cover some best practices on what to look for. Now, as far as the rating system goes, really not too much to cover here, as the rating system for whiskey falls in line with the general guideline. I've listed the high-level tiers here, but if you want the in-depth explanations, you can check out the description below for a link to that video. In that video, I break down the rating scale and how you can use it as a guideline for how to think about purchasing and or consuming any whiskeys that we're going to be reviewing here. Now, I plan on doing a lot of whiskey reviews, and I know that the rating and review system will help you decide on the priority for getting the whiskeys yourself, but I figured the Rebel Nation would want some more definitive answers on which whiskeys you should get first. So to solve for that, I've also created a tiered system that will show where each whiskey ranks in relation to one another. So now that you know what kind of advice you'll be getting, let's talk a little bit about the content that you can expect. For every video, first we'll dive into the stats of the whiskey, what type it is, bourbon, rye, scotch, Japanese, and plenty more. We'll give the ABV, or alcohol by volume, proof, and if applicable, the batch, bottle, and date as well. We'll follow that with a behind the label segment, where I'll share interesting facts and stories about the whiskey's history, production process, and the people behind the brand. After that, we'll dive into the actual tasting. We'll take notes on appearance, aroma, taste profile, mouthfeel, and finish. What to look out for there, I'll cover here shortly. I'll also give some recommendations on how to drink it regularly, which typically means straight or adding a little bit of water, ice, cold stones. Then I'll also give some pairing recommendations, so think of food that would complement the whiskey's flavor profile and enhance the overall experience. I'll also give some potential cocktail creations. Now, this one might be a little bit more controversial, especially when we get to some higher end whiskeys, but think of it more as a way to showcase a whiskey's versatility. Lastly, I'll mention a few comparisons that the whiskey may be similar to both on the high and low end for those who are hunting for higher end bottles, but also for those that are a bit more budget conscious. So that's everything you can expect from the whiskey reviews. Now, for those that would like to follow along with the tasting, let me leave you with some best practices on what to look out for. Let's start with two aspects of setting up our tasting, glasses and resting. So for glasses, typically if you're drinking casually, you'll use a wider set glass that helps release the aromas of whiskey, like a snifter, a tumbler, rock glasses, or even specifically made whiskey glasses. For tastings, the majority of people will use what's called a Glencairn glass. It has a thick, sturdy base, and the shape allows for easy swirling and color observation. I'll be using a little bit of a variation of this glass. It doesn't exactly have the classic base that you would come to expect from a Glencairn. It's almost a mix between a Glencairn and a snifter. But these are the glasses that I'll be using. Now, as far as resting goes, most whiskeys that have aged need time to rest or breathe. This simply means setting it aside in a glass and leaving it alone. This allows the ethanol to burn off, which is going to be especially important for high-proof whiskeys. But it also allows the flavors to settle into the glass and the aromas to be more pronounced. For casual drinking, if it's aged over 10 years, typically what you want to do is let it rest for 1 minute for each year that it's aged. So a 12 year should rest for 12 minutes, and an 18 year should rest for 18 minutes. The other thing to consider, if it's high proof or anything above 100 proof, you should let it sit from anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes. For these higher proof whiskeys, I'd advise trying it at 10 minutes rested and then every 5 minutes until the alcohol content is comfortable for you and to your liking. Now for these tastings, I'll be trying high and low proof, but I want to allow all of them to have the same baseline for tasting. So I'm going to be overly cautious here and let each one sit for about 30 minutes. Now, not to worry, I'll also have a pour that I'll do straight on camera so I can point out the variations between an instant pour and a rested pour as well. Now that we've got our whiskey nice and prepared, let's get into the actual tasting. You'll start with appearance, and that always starts with the color, which can range anywhere from pale taupe to amber or deep nut brown. Next, you'll look at the clarity, which is checking to see how cloudy it is, which obviously gives it a more pleasant appearance. The less cloudy it is, the more likely it underwent what's called a chill filtration. This is the process of chilling whiskey and then running it through metal or a paper filter. While this doesn't normally have an effect on taste, it can remove proteins and fatty acids that can impact the aroma every once in a while. Next, you'll look at viscosity, or how thick it is. Now, similar to wine, if we've got some winos out there, you're looking to see if it has legs. Legs are going to describe the droplets that form inside of the glass when you swirl it. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it here, but the number of droplets and how quickly they fall down the glass will tell you how high the alcohol content is. If the droplets are heavy, thick, and move slowly down the glass, the whiskey has a higher ABV. This also indicates that there are more fatty acids within the whiskey. Next, you'll sample the aroma and nose. Now, word of caution for wine drinkers, smelling whiskey is very different from smelling wine. You don't want to stick your nose into the glass or you'll numb your olfactory system. Instead, you want to smell the whiskey gently from the top with your mouth slightly open. You'll want to first look for any fruit or floral aromas with the first smell. Give the glass a little bit of a turn here, give it a little bit of a swirl, then start to look for aromas of spice, wine, malt. Try smelling it close. Try smelling it further away. Really just experiment and try to find a little bit of the nuances within the smell. Some things you're going to be looking for here are grains used in the whiskey or notes from the aging process like oak wood, smoke, or honey. Now that we've observed the appearance and taken in all the smells, it's finally time to dive into the taste here. Now, there's a common saying in the tasting world called letting the whiskey coat your mouth, which just means letting it fall onto your tongue and then off to the sides. Getting it across your full tongue will allow your various taste buds to pick up on different flavor profiles. Start with noticing the prominent flavors, the complexities, and nuances that are going to stand out. Then you'll want to take in and evaluate what's called the mouthfeel that you get. When you're thinking of this, think of like the texture, the body, the overall sensation you're going to get on your palate. This is probably going to be a newer thing for a lot of people to notice, but some common terms that you want to think of are oily, hot, thin, creamy, silky, dry, crisp, soft, chewy, just to name a few. Last, you'll want to notice the finish. This is not just the aftertaste notes. Think about how long the flavors linger, how they evolve, how they then fade away. You'll notice that some flavors will last longer or even become more prominent, while others will quickly drift away. And last, and certainly my favorite step, drink again. See what else you're able to discern as you dive deeper into the glass, and if flavor profiles or aroma notes change. Now at this point, you're set up well to follow along on our tasting journeys as we dive into the whiskey ratings and reviews. So to wrap up here, if you want to be part of the Rebel Raider Nation and join us on our whiskey adventures, be sure to subscribe to the channel to get updates on the latest rating reviews, leave comments on what notes and flavors that you get, share your thoughts and feedback on the content, and please do suggest any whiskeys or other content that you'd like to be reviewed. Thanks for watching this intro to the Rebel Raider Whiskey channel, and I'm excited to jump into the whiskey depths with you. The video may end here, but the ratings revolution will never stop. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.